Okay, so you've made your choice, and let's now see what happens. I'm going to drop them both. There goes the ball and the wad. And so the ball knocks its board off, and the wet wad of paper doesn't knock its board off. We can use the impulse momentum theorem to understand what just happened. So both the ball and the wad were going at the same speed before they hit, and they have the same mass. And so what that means is that we can think in terms of momentum and say that they each had a downwards initial momentum. So there's pi. And because their masses and velocities are the same, that downward momentum, the initial momentum, is the same for both. However, after the collision, the wad of paper is stationary. And so its pf is 0. But the ball is going to rebound at some upward speed, not as fast as it was going before it hit, but still some upward velocity. And so it'll have an upward momentum, pf. And now we can calculate, or draw at least, the impulses on the ball and the wad. The impulse on the wad, well, look, pf is 0. And so it's just negative pi. Or in other words, flip pi around. There is negative pi. And that is equal to the impulse imparted on the wad of paper. With the ball, well, we have to do a proper vector addition, right? So we're going to have our pf, something like this, minus the pi, and to end with it like so. And so we get this much larger j. But now remember Newton's third law. These are the j's imparted on the ball and the wad of paper. But that tells us, by Newton's third law, whatever force acted on the ball, the same force, but in the opposite direction, acted on the board. And so the impulse imparted on the board by the ball is this big downward j ball on board, b on b, whatever. Whereas for the wad of paper, it's this smaller downward j paper on board. Okay, and so a larger impulse can be thought of as being like a larger force for the same time, or the same force for a longer time, or both, or maybe a much larger force for a shorter time. But in any case, it's the impulse, making the impulse larger, that's going to result in the board falling off. And so we see the ball knocks the board off, not the wad of paper, because it imparts a larger impulse.